That's the tight end, Zach Davidson.
After that explosive altercation, the NFL dropped the hammer. Shilo Sanders has been banned for life, but this wasn't his first run-in under the spotlight. Just the latest in a string of wild moments that kept getting worse.
Shilo knows better. Shilo knows he can't do a situation like that.
The real shocker? What Shilo did right after hearing the ban? Let's break it down. The 2025 incident that ended everything. The NFL preseason of 2025 was supposed to be Shilo Sanders' shot at redemption. The 25-year-old safety, son of the Hall of Fame icon Deion "Primetime" Sanders, had gone undrafted despite all the hype and his college resume. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers saw something in him, handing him a 3-year, $2.5 million deal with over $800,000 guaranteed in 2025. It was his golden chance to prove he belonged in the same league that made his father a legend.
He resets, roundhouse me, and hit me right in my chest.
Then came August 23rd, 2025, a preseason finale against the Buffalo Bills at Raymond James Stadium that should have been routine. Instead, it turned into the moment that shattered his career in seconds. And please, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you think. In the second quarter, with Tampa trailing in what became a 23-19 loss, Bills tight end Zach Davidson was caught up in a post-play block with Sanders. What happened next was pure chaos.
So let me ask you a question. You hit him. You think you hurt him? You think there was a greater chance you hurt your own self, or you could hurt him?
Davidson, standing 6 feet 7 inches and 251 pounds, kept shoving the smaller 6-foot Sanders way past the whistle, pushing him nearly 15 yards toward the goal line. Viral footage shows Davidson grabbing Shilo's helmet and swinging his arm dangerously close to his face. And that's when Shilo snapped. His reputation for aggressive hits from college came roaring back, and this time, it crossed the line in front of millions. As Davidson hit Shilo with what witnesses called a final dirty shove, Sanders snapped. Rising from his crouched stance, he did the one thing that would destroy his N.F.L. dream before it even started. He swung hard. Reports still debate whether it was a closed fist punch or an open-handed slap, but either way, it connected straight to the left side of Davidson's helmet. The sound echoed, and everyone froze. 2 referees standing right there saw it all and instantly threw the flag for unnecessary roughness. The reaction was brutal and fast. Sanders was ejected on the spot.
What'd you say to Shilo Sanders after that ejection?
You know you can't throw punches in this league. I mean, that's inexcusable. They're gonna get you every time. Got to grow from that.
Linebacker John Bullock tried to calm him down, pulling him away, but it was way too late. The damage was done, not just to the Buccaneers' field position, but to Shilo's future. And here's the kicker. Davidson didn't even get flagged. Despite clear footage of him jamming his fingers inside Shilo's face mask, the refs let it slide. Davidson even celebrated after, mocking Shilo with a too small hand gesture. That disrespect sent fans into a frenzy online. The penalty gave Buffalo a first down at Tampa's 11-yard line, and on the next play, Tyrell Shavers made a jaw-dropping one-handed touchdown catch. In one sequence, Shilo's temper cost his team the game and his career. Head coach Todd Bowles, a strict defensive-minded leader, was fuming after the game. His post-game words said it all. Bowles called the ejection inexcusable. Coach Todd Bowles' frustration was off the charts. Shilo had been battling for what was likely the final safety spot on the Buccaneers roster, sitting behind stars like Antoine Winfield Jr. And after that meltdown, his shot vanished overnight. Less than 24 hours after the ejection, on August 24th, 2025, the Buccaneers dropped the hammer. Shilo Sanders was waived. They claimed it was just part of standard preseason cuts, but everyone knew what it really meant. That timing screamed punishment. The news broke through his powerhouse agents, Drew Rosenhaus and Robert Bailey from Rosenhaus Sports. These weren't just any reps. Rosenhaus is a legend in the game, known for his next question attitude and for landing players huge paydays. But this time, even his pull couldn't save Shilo. That's how bad things had gotten. Rosenhaus and Bailey scrambled fast, putting out an urgent call to every team in the league, begging for someone to give Shilo a shot, even on a practice squad. They hyped his athleticism, pedigree, and upside, insisting he just needed another chance. But deep down, The whole push felt desperate. The once promising son of a Hall of Famer had gone from a redemption story to a walking warning label, and every GM in the league knew it. The football world exploded with opinions, but most of them weren't kind. Former players and analysts tore into Shilo Sanders, pointing out his weak preseason stats. Just 4 solo tackles and 1 quarterback hit in 3 games. Many said the punch wasn't the reason he got cut. It was just the excuse the team needed. Some questioned whether Shilo's athleticism and football IQ ever truly matched N.F.L. standards. Others claimed the incident was proof of a deeper issue, one that had been bubbling for years. That punch didn't just end a game, it reignited talk about the Sanders family's controversial style of discipline and accountability.
Shilo knows better. Shilo knows he can't do a situation like that.
Critics accused the family of letting fame and privilege shield bad behavior, while defenders swore Shilo was only being judged harder because of his last name. But then came the twist that made everything worse. This wasn't his first violent outburst. Once people started digging, a disturbing pattern came to light. Violence, temper issues, and family dysfunction that had been following Shilo since his teens. The August 2025 punch wasn't just a moment of bad judgment, it was the latest chapter in a long, messy story that fans couldn't stop talking about. To understand how a young man, with everything going for him, could wreck his shot at greatness so completely, you have to look back at the chaos that shaped Shilo Sanders' past. His story didn't start with the N.F.L. It started years earlier, in a storm of family tension and bad decisions. The most serious and life-changing incident hit on September 17, 2015, when Shilo was just 15 years old. It all went down at Focus Academies, also called AAA Academy, a private school in Dallas, Texas, where his father, Deion Sanders, was both the CEO and head football coach. What started as a simple school rule over cell phone use spiraled into a moment that would follow Shilo forever. He was already serving in-school suspension for being disruptive, but he broke the school's no-phone policy to text his mom, Shilo Sanders, during his parents' heated custody battle. When school security guard John Darren, a 48-year-old former minor league baseball player, stepped in to take the phone, reportedly under Deion's orders, things turned violent. According to court records, Shilo suddenly elbowed Darren in the chest and kept hitting even as the man fell. The attack was so brutal that Darren had to be rushed to the hospital, suffering a broken neck, cervical spine damage, and permanent neurological injuries. That single moment, at just 15, would shadow Shilo for the rest of his life. The medical aftermath was devastating.
Sometimes your last name can be a blessing and a curse. It's not normal that free agents have breaking news that they're being released. He's an undrafted free agent, and because his name is Sanders, the blessing and the curse, people say, well, Shannon, he only got an opportunity because his last name is Sanders.
John Darren had to undergo an intense 5-level spinal fusion surgery and now lives on a modest $1,400 a month disability payment. His injuries were so severe, he still needs constant medical care and may need more surgeries down the line. For a man just enforcing school rules, at the request of Shilo's own father, the outcome was life-changing and tragic. But the deeper issue wasn't just that one moment, it was the pattern it revealed. Multiple investigations into the 2015 assault all came to the same conclusion. Shilo was at fault in 4 out of 5 findings. A 2022 Texas court ruling laid it out plain as day. On September 17, 2015, Shilo Sanders did, in fact, cause physical harm and injuries to John Darren, and those injuries were a foreseeable result of the assault. Even with overwhelming evidence, Shilo and his family kept fighting the case for years, dodging responsibility at every turn. When it finally went to trial in March 2022, Shilo didn't even show up, claiming he never got notice because of an old address and that he couldn't afford a lawyer. That no-show cost him big. The court hit him with a default judgment of $11.89 million. It was a brutal number meant to reflect both the seriousness of Darren's injuries and Shilo's refusal to face up to it. But instead of owning it, Shilo made it worse. In October 2023, he filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in Colorado, trying to wipe away the debt. despite reportedly having over $1.1 million in NIL deals. The move shocked everyone. It painted a picture not just of a troubled athlete, but of someone trying to outrun accountability.
And I said, give me the phone. I'm not playing with you. Give me the phone. So I grabbed his arm, and I don't grab it hard. I just try to stop him because he looks like he's about to walk out of the building. So I put my hand on his arm, and he jerks away like really hard, and he grazes me.
The lengths Shilo Sanders went to dodge responsibility were wild. At first, he claimed over $400,000 in assets, but later revised it to $320,000, including a $75,000 Mercedes and another $75,000 in jewelry. Critics weren't buying it, accusing him of hiding money through LLCs and downplaying how much he really made from his NIL deals. John Darren's attorney hit back hard, arguing that the massive debt came from a willful and malicious assault, meaning it couldn't legally be erased through bankruptcy. The whole thing blew up even more when court documents showed Shilo was still spending big despite claiming he was broke. But the violence in 2015 wasn't some one-time slip-up. His college years were full of red flags too. While playing at Colorado, Shilo built a rep for late hits, unnecessary roughness, and on-field trash talk that had opposing players heated. Teammates described him as emotional, sometimes too emotional, and coaches had to keep reining him in. One of the most infamous moments came on October 12, 2024, against Kansas State when Shilo returned from a broken forearm. The game was a disaster. He missed key tackles, blew coverage, and even his father, Coach Deion Sanders, called his play horrible afterward, admitting his son looked rusty. But critics said the real problem wasn't rust, it was control. Shilo's frustration was written all over his body language, and everyone watching could see it. That Kansas State game turned ugly fast. Shilo Sanders laid another late hit on running back DJ Giddens that fans online called potentially career-ending. It was brutal, reckless, and exactly what critics had been warning about. Another chapter in a growing pattern of chaos. But it didn't stop on the field. Shilo had also gained a reputation for verbal confrontations that went way beyond normal trash talk. Before the 2023 Oregon game, cameras caught him jawing at opposing players and even coaches, shouting, "I'll beat the F out of every one of y'all and your coach." The clip went viral, shocking fans who already knew his history of real-life violence. To understand where that rage came from, you have to look at the family behind him, a household full of tension and public drama.
And then he roundhoused me, he resets, roundhoused me, and hit me right in my chest and up and drove it into my neck. And I fell back.
His parents, Deion and Pilar Sanders, went through one of the nastiest celebrity divorces imaginable. Public accusations, explosive custody battles, and even domestic violence claims that played out under the media spotlight. In 2012, Pilar was arrested for allegedly assaulting Deion at their home in Prosper, Texas, an event that 12-year-old Shilo witnessed firsthand. Court filings from the divorce painted a picture of a family in constant conflict, with both parents accusing the other of being unfit to raise their kids. For Shilo, surrounded by shouting, fighting, and tension, violence became normal. And then came the twist, Deion's own role in shaping his son's attitude. After the 2015 assault on security guard John Darren, Deion originally showed sympathy for the victim. But later, he flipped the script completely, calling Darren a grifter and releasing edited footage to TMZ to make it seem like Shilo was the victim. That kind of protection, many say, taught Shilo that he'd always be shielded from consequences. Even years later, the fallout lingered. Darren, still dealing with life-altering injuries, told reporters he actually wanted Shilo to succeed in the N.F.L., since a career would mean he could collect on the $11.89 million judgment. The irony was painful. The man Shilo hurt most was rooting for him to win, while Shilo kept torpedoing his own future. By the time Shilo hit the pros, that same pattern of violence, impulsive decisions, and emotional outbursts followed him everywhere. Former teammates and coaches whispered that he couldn't control his temper when it mattered most. And eventually, that flaw became the thing that defined his entire career.
Shilo is a man of many talents. I don't know if you guys know, he's a man of many talents, and He's going to be straight. All the Sanders are going to be straight, with or without football. You better believe that.
All those red flags from Shiloh's past came back to bite him, and likely explain why. Despite his athletic ability and famous last name, no N.F.L. team drafted him. Coaches and scouts whispered that his temper and family drama made him too risky, and instead of fixing those issues, the Sanders family often seemed to double down on excuses and legal spin, turning every controversy into a "they're out to get us" story. To really understand how the August 2025 punch became the final nail in Shiloh's football dream, you have to rewind, back to where it all began. The story of a dynasty's downfall starts with everything going right. Born February 9th, 2000, Shilo Deion Sanders entered the world with the kind of golden start most athletes only dream about. He was the eldest son of Deion Primetime Sanders, one of the most electrifying athletes to ever live, a two-time Super Bowl champion, 8-time Pro Bowler, and one of only 2 people ever to play in both the Super Bowl and the World Series. His mom, Pilar Sanders, was a successful model and actress, adding even more spotlight to the family name. Growing up in Dallas, Texas, Shilo was raised in a world where winning wasn't just encouraged, it was expected. In the Sanders house, athletic success was the main currency of love and pride. Deion often posted family clips online showing off his kids' highlights, even ranking their Father's Day gifts with that classic prime time flair. From early on, Shilo looked like he was built for greatness. He wasn't just about football, he dabbled in music production and beat making, showing flashes of creativity beyond the field. But football was where the family legacy loomed largest, and where Shilo felt the most pressure to prove he was worthy of the Sanders name. At Trinity Christian High School in Cedar Hill, Texas, where Deion coached as offensive coordinator, Shilo became a do-it-all athlete, playing safety, wide receiver, punt returner, and kick returner. His numbers were impressive: 24 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovery on defense, plus 13 catches for 199 yards and 3 touchdowns on offense. He even ran back 2 kickoffs for touchdowns his senior year, showing off that signature Sanders speed. As a 3-star recruit, Shilo had his pick of schools. Offers poured in from Florida State, Georgia, and 14 others. But he shocked everyone by choosing the University of South Carolina, stepping out from under his father's shadow for the first time. Under head coach Will Muschamp, his freshman year in 2019 showed flashes of that trademark Sanders spark, confident, fiery, and talented enough to stand out even in the ultra-competitive SEC. But behind all that potential, the same old habits were brewing: pride, emotion, and pressure colliding in ways that would soon send everything spiraling out of control. At South Carolina, Shilo Sanders saw flashes of promise and early signs of trouble. He played in 4 games as a freshman, picking up 2 tackles and 1 fumble recovery. The COVID-shortened 2020 season gave him a bigger shot: 9 games, 4 starts, and 32 total tackles, including a huge 10-tackle performance against Auburn that showed what he could be when locked in. But behind the highlight stats, cracks were forming. After that season, Shilo made his first major move. He entered the NCAA transfer portal, kicking off a trend that would follow him for the rest of his career. While transfers are normal in today's college game, Shilo's decision hinted at deeper issues: restlessness, frustration, and maybe a struggle with accountability. He landed at Jackson State University, where his father, Deion Sanders, was head coach. On paper, it looked like a perfect fit: family, mentorship, and a fresh start. But behind the scenes, whispers of nepotism began. Fans and analysts questioned whether Shilo was there to earn his spot, or if he was just protected by his last name. Still, in 2021, Shilo delivered his best season yet. He played in 13 games, starting 8, racking up 39 tackles, 1.5 for loss, 7 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, and 4 interceptions. That stat line earned him second-team All-SWAC honors, proof that he could ball when focused. But skeptics weren't convinced. The FCS level wasn't the SEC, and critics said his numbers were boosted by facing weaker competition. Others pointed out that playing for his dad might have blurred the line between discipline and favoritism. Those concerns turned out to be right on target. In 2022, Shiloh's momentum came crashing down after a brutal ACL injury that limited him to just 7 games, with 20 tackles and 1 interception. The recovery was tough, not just physically, but mentally. After that injury, the confidence that once fueled Shiloh's swagger started to crack, and from that point on, his career never truly recovered. After recovering from his ACL injury, Shilo Sanders shocked everyone again. He hit the transfer portal one more time. The move sparked major criticism, with many saying he wasn't facing challenges, just running from them. His final stop? The University of Colorado, where his father Deion Sanders had just taken over as head coach, and his brother Shedeur was the star quarterback. It was the ultimate family reunion, but also the biggest test of Shiloh's career. Could he prove himself on the national stage, or would the bright lights and family spotlight expose his flaws? At first, everything looked like a comeback story. The 2023 season started strong. In his debut against number 17 TCU, Shilo racked up 10 tackles in a shocking upset win that instantly made Colorado the talk of college football. Then came his breakout performance. Against Colorado State, Shilo went off. He returned an interception 80 yards for a touchdown and forced a fumble in the same game. Those explosive plays had fans saying, "He's got prime DNA." Over 11 starts that year, he stacked up 70 tackles, an interception, 3 pass deflections, a fumble recovery, and 4 forced fumbles. It was easily the best stretch of his college career. But the high didn't last long. The 2024 season told a different story. His numbers dipped. 55 tackles, 2 for loss, 1 sack, 1 deflection, 1 fumble recovery, which he did return for a touchdown, and 1 forced fumble. Solid on paper, but nowhere near the impact of the year before. Even worse, the same attitude problems that had haunted him since high school began creeping back. Teammates noticed frustration boiling over in practices and post-game interviews. And then came October 12, 2024, the night everything unraveled. Facing Kansas State, Shilo looked completely lost. Star running back DJ Giddens torched him for 182 rushing yards, breaking tackles and leaving Shilo spinning on highlight reels. One viral clip showed Giddens faking him out so badly that fans joked Shilo's ankles were still on the field. That play became the symbol of Shilo's struggles. All talent, all potential, but still undone by the same old problems. Ego, inconsistency, and frustration when things went wrong. What really set fans off after that Kansas State game wasn't just Shilo Sanders' missed tackles. It was yet another late hit on DJ Giddens, one that looked downright dangerous. Viewers called it reckless and unnecessary. And by that point, the pattern was too obvious for NFL scouts to ignore. Even his father, Deion Sanders, didn't hold back this time. His post-game take was cold and real. He called Shilo's performance horrible and said the rust from injury couldn't excuse what they'd seen. It was a moment that exposed just how far Shilo's game and focus had fallen. When draft season rolled around in 2025, the results were brutal. Despite his famous name and athletic bloodline, no team drafted him. N.F.L. scouts saw too many red flags: inconsistent tackling, poor discipline, and a history that screamed liability. The snub stung hard. In what he called a joke but felt a little too real, Shilo even fired his dad as his agent and hired powerhouse rep Drew Rosenhaus to clean up his image and rescue his career. Eventually, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took a gamble, signing him to a 3-year, $2.5 million deal. Big money for an undrafted player. But even that came with strings attached. The team was testing whether they could fix what everyone else had given up on. Head coach Todd Bowles, known for his discipline-first approach, believed maybe he could mold Shilo into something special. But it didn't take long for reality to hit. Across 3 preseason games, Shilo managed just 4 solo tackles and 1 quarterback hit, failing to secure even a backup role behind stars like Antoine Winfield Jr. He was fighting for a final roster spot against hungry players like Kayvon Merriweather and Rashad Wisdom, and the gap in consistency was obvious. That's where the tragedy of Shilo Sanders really comes into focus. This wasn't a case of someone who never got a chance. It was someone who had every chance and still found ways to blow it. Born into wealth, fame, and access, Coached by some of the best in the game and handed opportunity after opportunity, Shiloh's downfall was completely self-inflicted. Even after his NFL release, Deion stood by him publicly, calling for faith and patience. But privately, people couldn't ignore how the family still dodged accountability. Every time something went wrong, there was always an excuse, always a spin. In the end, Shiloh's story became bigger than football. It became a mirror for modern sports culture. It showed how nepotism, entitlement, and lack of discipline can ruin even the most gifted athletes. In a league that now values character as much as talent, Shiloh's record of violence, denial, and poor choices made him unemployable. The painful truth? The son of prime time proved that not even the biggest name in sports can save you from yourself. If you like this video, check out the next ones on your screen for more wild sports breakdowns.